And welcome to another edition of Israeli Frenemies. My name is Josh Haston, Middle East correspondent for JNS News. I'm here with my friend Yariv Oppenheimer, former head of Peace Now, and currently a board member of that organization. Yariv, let's get right to it today.
Some dramatic news coming from the Israeli parliament, the Knesset. The Knesset legislate a new bill that allow the government to cut money that is coming from the taxpayers' money of the Palestinian people to Israel, to the Palestinian Authority, so the government can cut amounts of money that is being distributed to the families of the prisoners, the terrorists that act against Israel. The background for this bill is that the Palestinian Authority give money to the families of Palestinian prisoners and terrorists that attack Israelis. This is as a social net in order to allow them to exist. And there is a lot of anger among Israelis about that. It's actually sponsoring terror, and therefore this bill was legislated. I have to tell you that I'm totally against it because of one major reason. It's not going to prevent even one terrorist attack on Israelis, because the terrorists are not doing it for 1,500 shekel a month. They are doing it because of ideology. And this is not the reason why they are going to attack. And what this law will actually do is to create more support for this family among the public opinion in the Palestinian Authority.
And I disagree with you there. I think this was a historic vote taken by our Knesset in order to deter the terrorists. Let's remember last year the PA spent $360 million to pay the terrorists and their families as a reward for carrying out these attacks. So you have to hit them where it hurts. You have prisoners and you have their families who are becoming millionaires. Palestinian Authority residents becoming millionaires. This is not a social welfare payment. They're becoming millionaires as a result. You need a deterrent to say to a potential terrorist, if you think that we are going to support your family, if you carry out this attack, you're going to have to think again.
You know, I met some Palestinians and I asked them about that, and they told me a few things. First of all, that the people that are going to get the money, they are not going to be millionaires. And if they will be alive, or if they will be not in jail, but working, they will get much more money by working. And this is a social health care for the families of these people that has no one that will take care of them. But more than that, it's deeper than that. What you consider to be a terrorist, for them it's like the Palestinian soldiers. The Palestinian has no army, and they have no ability to say, no, don't build settlements, don't change the status quo on Temple Mount. The only way that they can see that effective and can create some kind of a protest is by fighting with the Israelis. And when they are being arrested, also in demonstration, etc., they need this a net that will keep them survive, these families. They're not going to be rich.
Are you saying it's okay to sponsor terrorism, to pay the terrorists who carry out these attacks?
No, I'm not saying that.
Is that okay to pay them, reward them, give them money?
I'm not saying that this is okay.
Sounds like it.
But I'm saying, no, but I'm saying that in order to solve the problem, we need to learn it deeply. And to learn the problem deeply is to understand that these terrorists are not doing it for the money. They are doing it because they want to have life, because they want to have freedom, because they want to have their own independence. This is the motivation of the Palestinians to fight Israel.
They're doing it because they want to murder Jews. That's why the PLO was founded in 1964. They are as well, from Jerusalem and al-Fahim, carrying out terror attacks.
They are almost 20%.
Not everybody, but look how many attacks were carried out. Look at the massacre at Merkaz Arab was carried out by an Arab Israeli from Jerusalem.
Less than Israeli settlers. And if I will say the same thing about Israeli settlers, you will go mad, and you will have a right to go mad, because 20% of the Israeli population is not Jewish, and they are loyal to the state of Israel. You can look at about a very small minority, but most of them, almost all of them, are not doing it. But they are Muslims and they are Palestinian. They are not doing it because they have rights. The Palestinian Authority, they have no rights. They are not Israeli citizens. They feel that the only way, because there is no peace talks, the only way to change something is to fight Israel. Some will do it in demonstrations, and sometimes will be killed in demonstration. Some will do it in terrorists. I'm not justify it, and a terrorist is my enemy. But in order to solve the problem, I need to understand it and to learn it.
There were massacres in 1929 against the Jews of Hebron before there was ever such thing as a settlement.
This is not an
the
excuse,
PLO, the PLO was founded 3 years before any communities, Jewish communities, existed in Judea and Samaria. This is about their stated desire for over 100 years. I'm talking about the Arabs from living under the PA, their stated desire. Those terrorists, I'm not saying everybody, I'm not putting a blanket statement.
It's a huge amount of people.
PA Arabs who carry out these attacks have one thing, in one goal, to murder Israelis, to murder Jews, and Americans too. I just met Stuart Force, whose son was murdered on the Tel Aviv promenade several years ago. We have a potential coalition crisis here in Israel. There was a first reading of a bill passed by the Knesset the other night, which would call for additional members of the Haredi ultra-Orthodox community to be enlist in the IDF. So there still has to pass the second and third reading, but we'll see where it goes. So it's a potential coalition crisis because you have some members of the ultra-Orthodox party who are threatening if the bill passes, they are going to walk and perhaps we'll have early elections. It's my opinion that every Israeli, whether you're a Jew, whether you're a Haredi, whether you're an Arab, Muslim, Christian, if you're a citizen of the state of Israel, I believe you have to give back to this country. Whether it's IDF service, whether it's a year of national service and volunteer work, whatever the situation is, I am a firm believer that you have to give back to the state of Israel if you're living here, Yariv.
So first of all, I think that you support this government more than I am, and for sure we understand and we agree that this law is not going to do what you are just said. It's going to do exactly the opposite, and because of this bill, more and more Orthodox religious young people will not have to go to the army like I went to the army and other Israelis are going to the army. And I have to tell you honestly, it's not that I'm looking for all the Orthodox religious to come to be in the army. I think it's almost impossible. But when I look about the numbers and the equality between secular or religious and the Orthodox religious, it's becoming too much. And when you are talking about such a huge number of youngsters that are not going to the army, you have to make a decision. Either to create an army that is more volunteer and it's not mandatory, or to do it mandatory and, yes, to look for the Orthodox religious people that are able to do it and to call them to the army. We cannot give this inequality situation to be here for any longer.
I agree that the bill, and I've read the bill, I've studied it, it's going to take time. It's not going to be overnight that it's going to come into play, and perhaps it's a little weaker. So we may, weaker than you would have wanted. I agree, I might agree with you there, but ultimately, if it does lead, and again, if it does lead to more members of that community, ultra-Orthodox community joining the IDF, then I think it'll be success, but only time will tell.
The problem with this bill, first of all, that there has nothing to do in order to make it work. You know, it has no sanction. It's only, please come to the army. This is actually what the law is saying. And if they are not going to come to the army, the law is going to be cancelled and then they can legislate another one. It's playing with games. Eventually, it's for the Orthodox religious that don't want to go to the army. My problem is not just the army. My problem is also about what these people are doing, whether they are going to study or whether they are going to study and work. Because if they are only going to study Torah, the Israeli taxpayers will have to pay for their life, for their food, for the water, for the housing, and for the studies. And this is something that the Israeli public cannot do. I'm a secular. I'm going to the army. I'm paying taxes. I'm going to work. And I need to feed these people that are just sitting and standing and learning Torah. I think that this is unacceptable. It will not last. Look what's going on in America. You see so many Orthodox religious people that are studying and going to work. I think that this should be the goal of the Israeli society, to push this society to learn more and to be part of the working class in Israel.
So this might be the one topic we somewhat agree on today, because I also believe that there can be a combination between the learning of Torah, which I value extremely highly, but also giving back to the country. I think it has to be some kind of balance. Will this bill accomplish it? I am not 100% convinced. I think it's a step in the right direction. I think it is a bluff in terms of the coalition crisis. I don't think the government's going to fall. I believe whether you like the government or not, I think it's going to last till 2019 when elections are scheduled. But that being said, I think I agree with you somewhat in the fact that this community, in my opinion, and all communities in Israel, must do their part, not only...
Have you heard the name Khan el-Ahmar? Most of the Israelis never heard about this place. Most of the people around the world didn't hear about it, but it's in the front news because the Israeli government made the decision to evacuate this small Bedouin village that is on the way between Jerusalem to the Dead Sea. They are there for many years, and they are there because they didn't have any other place, and the government allowed them to be there. But suddenly the settlers that are living next to it, they are saying, it's not so nice that I can see Palestinian out of my living room when I open my window, and I wish to take them out. And they are, by the way, it's a very poor village. You have got a school there that is made out of mud, and it's almost a romantic place. And suddenly the Israeli government is really looking forward to take them out of the houses. And I know that many times I'm being blamed, and Peace Now is being blamed, taking out settlers and putting them out of their houses. When we are doing it, it's only in an occasion in which settlers are sitting on a private Palestinian land. When settlers are sitting on state land, it's okay, they are legalized, they are getting money from the government. These Palestinians are sitting on a state land. If there were settlers, Israeli settlers, they will get money from the government, not the bulldozers and the D9 taking them out of the houses.
I feel terrible for these people. I feel terrible for them, and I'll tell you why. Because these are Bedouin who the Palestinian Authority is using as pawns. They placed them there. This is part of a strategic plan by the former Prime Minister of the Palestinian Authority, Fayyad, in 2009, who you can Google it and see the plan. The goal is to take over strategic areas in Area C, which is under Israeli control, and put up similar villages like this. And that's really the goal. And these poor people are there because of the PA, and you can see how they're hiding behind their women and children in the clips here. The Israeli government, by the way, this is a Supreme Court decision, not an Israeli government decision.
Exactly right.
It's a Supreme Court decision. And these people were offered 4 permanent housing locations, but the Palestinian Authority is putting them there. Not only is it illegal for them to be there, but this is a risk to the children. I've been to the village.
It's
a risk to the children. They're living alongside a busy highway, Highway 1, which goes from Jerusalem to the Dead Sea. I've seen these kids run across the street. Oh my gosh, these poor kids. It's the Palestinian Authority that are keeping them there, and Israel wants to find a solution and offering them beautiful neighborhoods.
Much far away.
No, nearby in Abu Dis or in Jericho. I've seen the neighborhoods. Beautiful. The PA is keeping them there as pawns. Look at these poor people.
If you so care for these people, don't take the nothing that they have. And yes, there is also a political issue here. And you know what you said about the Palestinian Authority putting them there in order to serve a big plan?
Absolutely.
The same with settlers. The settlers are being located in the heart of the West Bank in order to serve the goal of not having the two-state solution, but maybe having one-state solution. These people, yes, they have also national feeling, and they are Palestinian, and they think that this place is supposed to be the future Palestinian state. And if you so care for the people living next to the highway, why you are not evacuated the settlers that are living in the same place? I think that what Israel is trying to do here is shameful. We don't need to do it. They are very poor. They were located there many years before the settlers arrived, and we should allow them to be there. And if there will be a solution in which this will be Palestine, so for sure they will stay there forever and ever. I don't see the point why you need to hassle these poor people. This is not a security risk. This is not, by the way, even a political risk. This is just the political need of the settlers to show that they are in power and they want to take out the Palestinians from Palestine.
Again, they're living illegally. It's against the law. Israel wants to increase their well-being, wants to enhance their well-being and move them into permanent housing so that they can have more opportunities. But the Palestinian Authority won't let them go. They're holding them hostage. Not only this, the Palestinian Authority, I know, buses in children from other communities in the area to try to increase. This is a violation of the Oslo Accords, what they're doing.
The violation of the Oslo Accord is the doubling the number of settlers.
Violation of Oslo.
The violation of
Israel wants to help them, compensate them, build them permanent homes and permanent neighborhoods.
Israel wants to kick them out from this place because
they can't leave.
Of political
They're being
reasons.
held like this by the PA.
No, they wish to stay there. Don't talk on behalf of them.
I remember I said I feel bad for them. I feel bad for them because they are being used as political pawns.
It's not enough. They
Let's
are not
find a
being
solution
used.
where they can live legally.
They have
Let's
also
find a
some
solution.
sentiment. Don't look at them like natives. They have also some national feeling, and they want to stay there also because of political, but also because this is their place, this is their home, and they don't want to be kicked out just because the settlers wants to live in Area C. And Area C, for those of you who don't know it,
So our final topic for today, BDS activist and Israel hater Ariel Gold arrived in Israel several days ago and was promptly thrown out of the country. She was deported out of Israel because of her involvement in BDS. Now let's remember what BDS is. BDS's goal is to try to hurt the Israeli economy. So if you have a factory and BDS targets your factory, if it's successful, the factory can no longer operate and therefore it has to fire its workers. If it fires its workers, they can't feed their families. So what is essentially BDS trying to do? BDS is trying to starve the Israeli people. So I think it is a smart move not to let these people into the country who want to destroy the country and want to literally starve the women and children and men here in the state of Israel. I think this sets a great precedent not to allow those people who want to see Israel's destruction to be able to stay here in this country.
I disagree with BDS because BDS is talking about boycotting the whole thing of Israel and that Israel has no right to exist. And when other boycotts are more legitimate. And by the way, people that are religious, you are not eating pork, and I respect you, but you are actually boycotting the pork industry. And maybe people will not have jobs because you are not buying it because of ideological reason. There are people that has ideology, and they are saying we would not like to buy products that were made in the settlements because we think that our ideology is not the same, and I think that we should respect it. Now, what Israel is actually doing here, it's saying we are maybe afraid to show the world what is going on here. We feel weak, and because of that we are blocking people from coming in. It's like North Korea. When you are traveling there, you got people from the administration working with you, so you will not see anything that you are not supposed to see. I think that Israel is a democratic state, and the only reason why we should not allow people come in is only if they are having some kind of a real risk to the life of the people, not because of their political thinking, not about their political opinion, just if they are a risk. And she's not a risk. I saw her in television. She has a Magen David here, and she's Jewish. She's proud Jewish. And by the way, she supports Israel, but she is against the settlements and the occupation in the West Bank and Gaza.
It doesn't matter if she's Jewish, Muslim, or Christian. Her goal is to seek the destruction of the state of Israel by literally starving the children of Israel. And by the way, how big is Israel's pork export or pork industry? I don't think it's significant at all.
Or vegetarians that are not eating meat. They are trying to starve the people that are in the meat factory.
This is a form of terrorism. BDS has a direct tie to terror organizations. This isn't one woman who just got up one day and decided she's going to get on a plane to Israel. This is, thank God, they're not succeeding.
She wanted to come to Lerner, to study in the Jewish
in many
university.
cases, they're not succeeding, and we have to prevent BDS from succeeding. And we can't let people like this into the country. Her and all her friends. By the way, one of her friends I saw on her Facebook profile, now that she took it down, she wrote Jerusalem, Palestine, not even recognizing to those who might believe in a two-state solution,
down, right?
which I don't.
I cannot be responsible to her friends.
But we can talk about her.
Yeah, but
she took it down. She realized how crazy her statement was.
You can argue with them. You can even say nasty things about them, but don't block the state and try to make decision who is getting in because of their opinion. Tomorrow there will be a left-wing government and they will say all the supporters of the settlers that are coming from abroad, and there are many of them, including from America, they should be stopped in the borders because it's against our ideology. I think that this is the dangerous thing here. And even if you think that they are wrong, and even if you are very upset about it, open the door. Don't be afraid. This is not a way to show strength. This is a way to show weakness. And when you are saying to people, go out, you are not allowed in, you have something to hide.
She's Jewish, so I'd rather not say anything nasty about her. I'd rather send her on the next plane back to where she came from.
By the way, you know what she's saying now? She's considered to do aliyah and actually to become...
Omri Caspi, one of two Israeli basketball players in the NBA, the other being TJ Leaf of my own Indiana Pacers. Omri Caspi just signed a one-year contract with the Memphis Grizzlies. This is his 7th team in 10 years, and he is a true mensch. He's a good guy. He does so much for the community, both here in Israel and abroad in the U.S. So we want to wish Omri Caspi much success in turning around the Grizzlies franchise. And may you have a healthy year in the NBA, successful year, and we'll cheer from you proudly here in Israel.
I can share it with you as well, this feeling. We know that it's very hot in Israel because it's the summer, and people are becoming a bit upset and sometimes a bit angry. And I look for the Israeli public and ask my society to be much more tolerant to each other, not just on the big issues of Israeli, Arab, Palestinian, but also between ourselves. We should not be so divided. We should not be so, Middle East style angry. I hope that we will be much more moderate and we will treat each other as human in a nice way with a lot of tolerance, even when it's very hot outside.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jost. It was a pleasure. Thank you for being with us. And see you soon in the next episode of Israeli Frenemies.